in any space, no matter what industry, as an entrepreneur, you have to look for and seize opportunities that are unmet needs. So
Mm-hmm.
tap into an unmet need that has not been already fulfilled. And if it's like the bread aisle or the water aisle, which is saturated, right? You go down a grocery store, you see bread, go down a grocery store, you see that water aisle. See what will make what your customer or competition isn't doing or isn't
Mm-hmm.
providing, and
Mm-hmm.
create a niche if you're in an overly concentrated market.
You're listening to the Black to Business Podcast, an educational podcast providing Black entrepreneurs with the tools and resources to start and grow their businesses. We chat with vetted Black entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and business owners as they provide tips and resources to help take your business to the next level. I'm your host, Monique T. Marshall. Hey, and welcome back to the Black to Business Podcast. I'm your host, Monique T. Marshall, and today's episode is a deep dive into how to disrupt a fixed industry. Because launching a business in an industry where the odds are consistently stacked against you is no small feat. It's like setting up shop in a marketplace where everyone has claimed their spot and the competition is fierce. And many entrepreneurs grapple with the hurdles that make breaking through seem nearly impossible. And that's why today we have a trailblazer on the show who has not only faced these challenges head on, but emerged triumphant. Mahisha Dellinger, the CEO and founder of Curls, pioneered the natural hair care market, defying norms and proving that even in seemingly saturated markets, there's room for innovation and disruption. Mahisha's success story is nothing short of remarkable. Curls, one of the first 4 brands to launch the category in Target back in 2002, is now a multi-million-dollar brand, gracing the shelves of major retailers across North America, from Target and Sally Beauty to ULTA and international beauty supply stores in Canada, Brazil, Africa, and the UK. Curls has become a beacon in the natural hair care industry. Today we unpack Mahisha's journey, exploring the strategies that propelled Curls to the forefront, from differentiating in a competitive industry to the significance of brand consistency. We delve into practical insights that every entrepreneur can learn from. We're going to discuss the role of cutting-edge products in staying ahead, practical tips for managing time and energy during the early stages of entrepreneurship, and strategies for handling setbacks and using them as drivers for success. Let's dive in. Mahisha, welcome to the Black to Business Podcast. So excited to have you on the show. So welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So on the Black to Business Podcast, we always like to introduce who we're speaking with. If you could just share a little bit about, I know we're going to go inside your journey during the conversation, but a little bit about who you are, what is it that you do in your business, and how did you get where you are today?
Sure. So my name is Mahisha Dellinger. I'm the founder of Curls Beauty Brands. I launched it back in 2002. And so, 20 years later, we're celebrating our 20th, right, anniversary.
Yeah.
Or 20th last year, 21st, this coming up. So we started out initially 100% e-commerce based, but we are
Mm-hmm.
now currently in every major retail outlet you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And, the business was just grown organically over time as I continued to grow as a entrepreneur. I grew my brand through connectivity with my audience, developing products that she wanted, being the consumer, being authentically connected because I am the consumer.
Mm-hmm.
So, the brand has just been one that has stood the test of time.
Yes, yes, I love that. And I must say, I'm so excited to have this conversation. I'm such a fan of the brand. And by the way, I love, my favorite is the Blueberry Bliss. It has really helped my edges thrive. So I'm
Awesome.
going to put my niece on. So you all are doing some amazing work. Thank you so much for sharing that. So 2002 hair industry was not what it is today. So I want to talk about, you were the pioneer basically of the industry, one of the pioneers of the industry. And I want to talk about your initial inspiration for entering this industry at such an early stage, especially in some of the challenges that you faced in those early days.
Yeah, so it was really all about making sure that I delivered cutting edge products, ingredients
Mm-hmm.
that were wholesome and organic. At the time, the market was saturated with a host of synthetic oils and ingredients that,
Yeah.
weren't good for our hair, beneficial for our hair. They weren't black owned, most of them. So they were
Mm-hmm.
just dropping in the cheapest ingredients that maybe had a quasi good feeling to the hair, but was absolutely horrible. But we bought into it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I came in at that time to give something opposite, and that's exactly what we did.
Yeah, I love that. And so, a lot of our audience members on the Black to Business podcast are listeners who are trying to differentiate themselves in their industry. So, for you and Curls, how did you differentiate yourself from those existing products that were in the market, especially when it was relatively new? Like, what are some of the strategies that you used?
Well, it was one, and I say this to everyone, like find your unique selling proposition and what makes your brand your brand. For
Mm-hmm.
us, it was about the wholesome organic ingredients. It was about, making sure that it passed the three-prong test for naturalistas, which is it has to smell good, number one, has to perform well, and three has to have beneficial ingredients. And that's what we always do, our trifecta. And every ingredient that we formulate with has a purpose to help
Mm-hmm.
benefit and beautify your hair, grow your hair, thicken your hair, elongate your hair, etc.
I love that. And one of the things you mentioned is that during that time, also, there were a lot of products that we were in our community just used to using who were maybe possibly on the cheaper side. And so you introduced this Lux product for the hair. Like, how was that to say, okay, this isn't cheap, but this is worth your money for especially those people who are entering these markets and they want those products to be like Lux?
It was all about education. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you can kind of see what you're getting when you read the back of a label. So the
Yeah.
natural customer is very astute and she knows what she wants and what she doesn't want. So we did the education to tell them about it, and all they had to do was flip the bottle back over and read it. And that was the selling point, the wholesome goodness.
I love that education. So good, so good. So, for our aspiring entrepreneurs, what advice would you offer on identifying those untapped opportunities in established industries and seizing them?
In any space, no matter what industry, as an entrepreneur, you have to look for and seize opportunities that are unmet needs. So
Mm-hmm.
tap into an unmet need that has not been already fulfilled. And if it's like the bread aisle or the water aisle, which is saturated, right? You go down a grocery store, you see bread, or go down a grocery store, you see that water aisle. See what will make what your customer or competition isn't doing or isn't
Mm-hmm.
providing, and
Mm-hmm.
create a niche if you're in an overly concentrated market. Like there's a brand of water, and I forgot the name of it, but it's flavored with fruit water, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a woman-owned business. And there's so many water brands, but and they have the unnatural flavored waters, but hers is all natural and has a whole
Mm-hmm.
bunch of different beneficial ingredients. So she had created her niche. So, and she's in a water space, so you have to just find that niche.
Mm, love it. And I want to talk about some of those pivotal moments for you because you have had such success. And can you tell us about those pivotal moments that help curls gain that traction in the market? And how can others kind of replicate such success?
Well, I think being consistent, being persistent,
Mm-hmm.
crafting, being better and at my craft, continuing to grow. That's what's helped me. And
Mm-hmm.
continue to be connected with my consumer, because you can't go to market with a product that the customer doesn't want. You have to develop for her based on her needs. So listening to our customer first has propelled us forward because we are her go-to when it comes to all her hair needs.
Mm-hmm. So, Mahisha, I want to talk about your journey, your early journey in, okay, you have this idea and then you went to from idea to concept. Like, so for you, how was it actually making this product, like the process?
Creating the products for the brand. When we started, we had four items. We
Mm-hmm.
hired a cosmetic chemist, and that cosmetic chemist actually worked closely with me with the ingredients I wanted in the products, the ones I did not want them in them, and we just did
Mm-hmm.
a lot of testing, R&D, back and forth until it was perfected. Along the way, creating the website, the marketing materials, and all the things going while we're doing 9 to 12 months of R&D and perfection of the products, and then from there, from launch. So it was really a lot of hard work in the
Yeah.
testing phases of the products, and then getting prepared for the launch as we were doing that simultaneously.
Mm-hmm. I love that, the testing phase, because so many people sometimes we think like, okay, I got this idea, I should go ahead and launch it now. But I love that you said the process was testing and figuring out what you did and didn't want, which is important.
Yes.
So 2002 to now, market is competitive. So in such a competitive market, how do you approach innovation and stay ahead of the trends to keep curls relevant?
Nothing has changed really. We still continue to look for cutting edge new opportunities for our consumer that she's looking for. Like, for example, we launched a collection called Hair Under There. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
us are playing more with wigs, weaves, and extensions. We may be natural, but we may want a unit in. But what do you do when you have a unit in to take care of your hair under there? That's the name of the
Mm-hmm.
product line. So that Hair Under There collection has all the products you need to make sure your scalp is healthy, is breathing, your hair is growing, is thriving while it's in protective style. So that was a white space item, an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity. So that's how we continue to be relevant.
Oh, I love that. I love that name, Hair Under There. Love it. So let's talk about longevity and build business and building a brand that stands the test of time, especially for those who want to create these legacy businesses. So you've been recognized for, like you mentioned, over 20 years. How have you been able to maintain relevance in the industry?
Yeah, by developing cutting edge products, making sure I'm delivering to her needs, her expectations, and continue to be ahead of the curve when it comes to innovation.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. And can you share some insights into, for those who are listening, the importance of that brand consistency and that customer loyalty, especially in industries that have those rapidly changing trends?
Yeah, that's super important. Consistency, they need to know that they can rely on you to
Mm-hmm.
be the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. Like, you go to McDonald's because you know that you're gonna get some bomb French fries. May not be good for you, but they're gonna
Right.
taste good, right? You're gonna get those bomb French fries and get a cheeseburger. You know what quality to expect. You know what you're gonna sink your teeth in. And it's to the point that every single item is exactly to a T, the amount of mustard you get on the sandwich, the ketchup and the pickle location, etc. Consistency. And
Mm-hmm.
McDonald's has branded that and done that so exceptionally well. It is important because the customer does not want to be surprised. They need to know that when they come back, you're not going to reformulate to lessen the products, to cheapen the products. And, that happens a lot when people sell, see a lot of cheapening of the brand. As soon as that happens, people flee. So it's
Mm-hmm.
critical for success and for continuity and for longevity.
Mm-hmm. So true. Yeah, I don't want to be surprised. Yeah. So what are some of the lessons, the key lessons that you've learned about scaling a business while preserving its core values and mission?
So scaling the business has been all about growing, right? Of course. So just making sure that the key thing is people are our number one commodity. So making sure that people that we hire are along for that, see the vision and align with our core values and mission. That's
Mm-hmm.
how you can continue to scale and preserve is to
Mm-hmm.
have the people that join your force, who are your most precious commodity, the people that your team, that they actually are aligned with your core value and mission. That's critical and key.
Mm-hmm. And as entrepreneurs, how can we, because some people, you spoke about like innovation and staying ahead of the curve, how can we effectively adapt to those changing consumer preferences and market dynamics without compromising our brand identity?
Well, you may not always be able to you have to adapt and go along with your customer on her journey because if you have to evolve or you'll dissolve. But
Mm-hmm.
there are some trends that may not be part of your brand identity. For example, if one thing we will never do, if everyone went back to, say, if a big piece of our company, our consumer base started to go 100% to relaxers. Well,
Mm-hmm.
our mission is to and help you enhance your hair naturally. We would not just jump on that bandwagon and become a relaxer company.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you just have to not compromise your brand identity, but go along with your consumer on the journey that aligns. So that something that dramatic we would not align with. But as she is exploring wigs and weaves, that's one thing that we're growing with her. She's playing with those now, so we're gonna give you something for that time. So yeah, I think it's all about making sure that there's a fine line there of not
Mm-hmm.
crossing, an unethical boundary. Like, for example, Whole Foods. Whole Foods wouldn't just automatically start bringing in crap at their stores if they felt like there was a fast food chain. They're not going to get into that industry. They may do it separately and not under the
Mm-hmm.
Whole Foods umbrella as
Mm,
a separate business, but you can't change your whole business model, when you create a brand identity.
right. I love that. Yes. Great example. Great example. And Mahisha, can you talk about some of, because your company has really done well also at marketing. So I want to get more into the marketing strategies and the success. So if you could just share some of those successful marketing strategies that have really contributed to the longevity and growth of curls.
Now that will be probably have to be a whole nother topic because that's a whole class in of itself. It's just that it's a whole plan, nothing we can
Mm-hmm.
share within an hour. But I can say that this is not an Instagram only kind of
Mm-hmm.
business. You can't, a lot of people think they just can post on Instagram and get some influence and that's it. Wash your hands. This is a full, 360 dynamic that comes to having every single element that you need to
Mm-hmm.
connect with our consumer wherever she is. So it's a full thrown approach. And that's another conversation though.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Love it. And I'm so glad that we were able to talk about the strategies and also the success that you've achieved. I want to also talk about your journey before and kind of getting to where you are now. So initially, a lot of our entrepreneurs who are listening, they're balancing employment as well as their businesses and side hustles. So I want to talk about your experience balancing both and overcoming some of those challenges that you had. So you started Curls while you were still full-time employed, and you actually dealt with like a challenging boss. So how did you balance the demands of your job with building your business, and what advice could you give for others in that similar situation?
Well, I wind up leaving my corporate desk job to do pharmaceutical sales for the flexibility because I knew that I
Mm-hmm.
had to have the flexibility of being in and out of the office, but be able to work on my business. So I switched industries. So always
Mm-hmm.
advise if anyone can do that to do so because where I worked at Intel it was really hard to, have a desk job 8 to 5 and still try to launch a business. So that's what
Right.
I did.
Mm, gotcha. And as I mentioned, a lot of our listeners are in the early stages of their journey. So how can they effectively like manage their time and their energy when they're managing those multiple responsibilities? So how did you do it?
With the team, a great
Mm-hmm.
partner, like whoever you marry, Oprah said, your partner could determine the success or failure of your business.
Mm,
If your partner does not support you and help you propel forward in business, then the business won't be successful. My husband was very supportive, and he
mm-hmm.
enabled me to do all the things I need to do to launch the brand. So that was the key success, having a good support system.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Love that. And so, what are some practical tips for maintaining? Okay, you're balancing both things. So you're maintaining that mental and emotional well-being while navigating the demands of these entrepreneurship and then your work. So how did you, or what tips can you give on that?
I think it just for me, it's always been taking time to mentally relax
Mm-hmm.
and veg, because it's so much go 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 go, and
Yeah.
then so many people pulling you, kids and husband and business and things. So just taking that time for you. It sounds
Mm-hmm.
cliche, but what that looks like is different for each person. For me, I would take a solitude and having a quiet lunch by myself with a glass of wine and decompressing. Doing so after the kids are asleep, even taking
Mm-hmm.
a trip once a quarter, things like that, just whatever would get me recharged. And for me, it's always the ocean. The ocean recharges me. Whenever I have a long, stressful quarter, I go by the water and just I can sit by the waves for 8 hours. That's my way of decompressing. So everyone has to find their way, but that brings me more energy and more life.
Mm-hmm. And in those moments where you kind of felt overwhelmed, like what were some of the things that you told yourself, or how did you persevere through that?
I just kept going. I mean, it was like
Mm-hmm.
walls back against the wall when you don't have any other options in front of you, you press forward. And it was a no matter what, against all odds situation. I didn't have a moment to even think about that. I just really pressed forward.
Mm, love that. And speaking of pressing forward, I want to talk about overcoming rejection and adversity. So dealing with those closed doors and actually turning those into opportunities. So you faced rejection when pitching to Ulta Beauty initially.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you tell us about that experience and how you were able to persevere despite that setback?
Well, that was the first company that I pitched back when I first started. And I was pitching once a year to the buyer. His name was Chuck Barth, old, fat, white, bald guy buying for hair, right?
Uh huh.
And then they didn't have a lot of hair products, and they certainly didn't have a lot of black ones. But every year he would tell me, "No, we don't have a need for your type of products. No, we don't see value. No, 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 no." And that was for many years. Every year they would have their opportunity to be pitched, and he would always say no. So, you power through the no's. I moved on, but I kept pitching them, but I kept getting my other yeses, and I would come back and share the new wins I got. He was still
Mm-hmm.
rejected. Well, they changed their entire makeup of the buyer. The buyers
Mm-hmm.
in for their hair care. All the women are African American, so they wind up,
Mm.
full circle moment calling to have curls in their stores, which was a great. But yeah, I just continued to pass the rejection. You're gonna, as an entrepreneur, have a host of no's,
Yeah.
thousands of potentially or hundreds of no's before you get that one important yes. And that one important yes for me was Target. And once I got that, then all the other doors start to open for me.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have to have the thick skin as an entrepreneur and just continue.
Yeah.
There's not a recipe. It's like it's grit. Either you got it or you don't.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Chuck. He was a hater. But it worked out, thank God.
Yes.
Uh, so one of the things you also have dealt with is adversity in the workplace. And for a lot of people who are listening, they may be working in a job and they're like, okay, maybe I should keep my business on hush hush. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, yes, it depends on what the policy is with your current employer. I would err on the side of caution and just check in with HR and ask. But
Mm-hmm.
usually, what it is, as long as you don't compete with them, it's usually not a problem. A non-competitive business, and that you're not doing it when you're supposed to be at work, but definitely check in. I see that a lot of women of color are creating side hustles in hopes that it will become their main hustle because their
Mm-hmm.
experiences in corporate America, like,
Yeah.
the question you're asking about my experience, I actually, was encountered a racist boss who was looking targeting me to get rid of me. So that was what propelled me to get into entrepreneurship because I knew I wanted to control my destiny. So my side hustle was intended, and I worked it to become my main hustle because of that experience. I think that's the reason why a lot of women of color are starting businesses.
Yeah.
So just side on the air of caution and ask so that you don't lose your source of income as you pursue your goals. But be very careful not to use any company, computers, anything like that to do any of your business.
Mm. And during that time, like you said, a lot of people are dealing with that racist boss, not good work environments. So, and during that time, like, how was your strategy, and how long did it take you to transition? I know you said you went into sales too. Was it after that position?
Yeah, I actually did both because pharmaceutical sales is very flexible. So I would go in and see my doctors. I had to see eight by noon. I mean, you have to see eight a day.
Mm-hmm.
They want you to see eight a day and get your signatures and give your samples and talk about your drugs. I was able to parlay mine to get eight by noon, and so I would come home by right after that and do work on curls. So I did both. Actually worked at Pfizer and did curls, launching it for about 3 years, and then I left after
Wow.
that amount of time.
Wow. And how was your escape plan? Like, how did you know it was time to, okay, I'm done?
Well, it was after I knew that we had enough. My mind, I said it was so. As soon as I see that I have a strong, continual sales month
Mm-hmm.
after month after month for a few years
Yeah.
and growth, then I will leave. And so that's what I saw. I saw that every year we were growing and everything was consistent. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when it became safe. But I wanted to make sure that I also got to a place where I could actually pay myself a salary without taking,
Yeah.
without harming the business. So that was the benchmark.
Mm, I love that. And in that time where you were dealing with that difficult boss, for somebody who's listening, who's in that current situation, like, how was it? How did you mentally prepare yourself, or how did you deal with that on a daily basis, as far as like your mental and just saying, okay, I'm going to go here with this type of mindset?
I just pushed through.
Mm,
Again, grit. I pushed through. I pushed through. I knew what I had to do. I made a plan, and I said I got to get myself out of the situation. I started to plan. I didn't sit in it. I didn't wallow in it. I just planned and moved forward.
hmm.
That's it.
So, for an entrepreneur who is listening, they're like, okay, how do I build resilience and maintain a positive mindset when I'm facing these obstacles and adversity? Because I might not be as strong as Mahisha. So, how do you advise someone who is having that question? What are some tips that you can give for them?
Well, see, like I said earlier, I can't teach you on how to be. That's not a coachable moment. Either you have the grit, determination, perseverance, or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mindset that you have to own. That is not something that's teachable.
Mm-hmm.
And entrepreneurship is not for everyone. it is something that does require a lot of that, a lot of the, adversity, resilience,
Yeah.
grit, determination, perseverance, obstacles, the how you deal with it. And so that's not a coachable item. That's not something I can teach.
Mhm. Okay.
You
And
have to either you have it or you don't.
you got it or you don't.
And it's okay if you don't, because not everyone's meant to be an entrepreneur.
That part. Okay. And so, those who are leveraging, I want to talk about. You mentioned that you had some no's, and people will have no's all the time, especially in this industry and especially in entrepreneurship. What advice do you have for our audience on leveraging those setbacks as opportunities for growth and learning?
Yeah, setbacks could be setups for success because then you can learn what you didn't do right, how you can grow from it, how you can be better next time. And a lot of times we're hard on ourselves when it comes to setbacks, and we
Hmm.
can wallow in that failure and get stuck in it, and then it can ruin your whole emotional mindset. I think that's part of strength that, you have to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and be able to just have that moment, but then realize that, okay, let me sit back, let me analyze it. Everything, nothing is permanent, everything shifts and changes. Failures aren't final, they're lessons.
Hmm.
And so you take that moment, learn and move forward and apply. Make sure you apply those key learnings to your present and your future.
Hmm. I love that. And I want to talk more about some of the other work that you're doing and how you can help our listeners. So, not only have you built a successful brand, but you've also launched Black Women Making Millions Academy. Could you share some information about that program and then how it can benefit our listeners?
Sure. So after my show on the OWN network, Mind Your Business with Mahisha wrapped, I got lots of requests for personal one-on-one coaching and mentoring. I could not obviously do that because it's just only one of me. So I
Right.
decided to bring the show on steroids and create an academy that can help, train these women, give them the information, the resource, the access to tools that our counterparts of other ethnicities get through nepotism, through connections, etc.
Hmm.
So, Black Women Make a Man's Academy was formed. We actually had our first 3-day event in California, and we had amazing breakout sessions, workshops, classes and they were based on different levels of where you were in your journey. If you were a brand new entrepreneur, or entrepreneur that needed help growing, or entrepreneur that needed funding, 3 different tracks, and you were, on a different path for those 3 days, and it was phenomenal. So then after COVID, we decided to do virtual. We did that,
Hmm.
and then we brought back for the first time just last month, we brought back our in-person event in Atlanta, and that was amazing, sponsored by JP Morgan. And we're going to come back. So if you follow us at Black Women Making Millions Academy, follow us there, and you can get up to speed as to where we're going to be next. Also, we had a whole year of virtual classes, MBA
Hmm.
style, that are all recorded, and you can still pre-record, you can still listen to. And this is all free. So that's how you can benefit. You definitely want to. If you're a budding entrepreneur, take advantage of
Hmm.
this free resource.
I love that. We would definitely put that in the show notes. I love that. And for you, you've made such an impact and you continue to do so within the community and just being a leader. For you, like, how has it been personally to just, glance at your success and say, okay, I did that? Like, how has it felt for you personally?
I'm not one that like stops to smell the roses. It's like, okay, check, done, got that goal, next goal,
Right.
and always looking forward. I, I don't think that's a good thing. In all
Hmm.
honesty, I think it's smart to be able to stop and pause and appreciate.
Yeah.
It's just not my makeup, so I haven't.
Oh, no.
On to the next.
On to the next. Okay, so with Black Women Making Millions Academy, what are some of those proud moments that have happened since you've opened the program?
Oh, I love the fact that we have JP Morgan that was super excited that sponsored and
Yeah.
sponsored a grant. And when they came out,
Oh.
they did it on a smaller scale, but they came out and sent 5 people, and they were super impressed with the program that now they want to go in at a higher level. So I'm super proud of that because that means more resources for my people. So
Yeah.
super proud of that and super happy.
I love that. That's amazing. Love it. And so, Mahisha, for you, managing, how do you do it? Like, what has contributed to your success in terms of managing your businesses?
That's the way I'm wired. I'm very much hardwired and have always been as a little girl. I remember I was like a latchkey kid. I would get myself to school and
Uh-huh.
home in first grade. And I knew from then business before pleasure. I would come home, do my homework, do the dishes, whatever, chores, and then go play. So the same philosophy is in my life, like the way I am today. I'm built that way. So I get things done because I'm wired that way. I just make it happen. I see the tasks, I identify them, I lay out the playbook, what I got to do, and I go after it.
And so, speaking of those things, I want to know, are there any like resources or books or tools that you can recommend to our audience as they're on this entrepreneurial journey?
Well, I recommend score.org. I went there for first of all, they have campuses in every major city and all their
Mm-hmm.
resources are free. So there's a free business writing class, free marketing class, plan writing class, free mentors, all
Mm-hmm.
free QuickBook, all these different classes that you can take for free. I absolutely love it and I highly recommend it.
That would definitely put that in the show notes as well. And
Definitely
then,
have to definitely have to bookmark that one. Every resource you need, and they find your mentor in your industry.
mm, love that. And as someone who's listening, they're in their first year of business, just starting a business, what advice would you give them?
Do your due diligence, make sure that you know your industry inside and out.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely have a marketing plan, have a business plan, because 9 times out of 10, the people I meet with, they don't have that. That's your roadmap to success. How do you know where you're going if you don't have a plan? Definitely do that. Definitely get a mentor, of course, and so go to SCORE. And know your competition and know them through and then execute. And if you're second, third, fourth into an industry and a new item or item that's in the market, but you're second, third, or fourth, learn your competition and do and deliver even better, and level up from your competition so you can take their customer base.
Mm. Take it. Take that customer base. I love that. And for you, what has been the best risk that you've taken?
Um, I don't know if I have one. I think the whole one being an
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneur is the biggest risk, okay? Because
Mm-hmm.
businesses can go up and down.
Yes.
So not one as a business owner, but being an entrepreneur is the biggest risk I've taken in my life,
Mm.
hands
And,
down,
and it's paying off. Paid off. I love that. And
hands
now
down.
into a round of not so serious business, some fun questions. The first question I have is, which TV show do you wish still aired?
Cosby Show, hands down.
Cosby Show. That's a good pick.
Yep.
That's a popular one. Okay. And what's the most random social media account you follow?
Huh, oh, this account. I forgot the name of it, but it's the black guy with his dogs that treats like babies. And I just watch his videos every day. Oh my God, he's like the buffest, the meanest looking guy, but he's so soft with his puppies. I love it.
Oh, that's cute. And if your business had a theme song that played every time you entered the room, what would that theme song be and why?
This Girl's on Fire by Alicia Keys.
Alicia Keys. Oh, that's good. Good stuff.
Yep.
And finally, what does it mean to you to be Black in business?
It means to be uh challenged, resource wise,
Hmm.
marginalized from every angle, and now put on a pedestal and still trying to snatch and steal our culture from the culture vultures, like trying to protect what we've created. Being a black entrepreneur means that you'll be imitated and not always given credit.
Hmm.
Um, but it also means that it's synonymous with swag. Being a black businesswoman who's in business, we're kind of looked up to, and we're the fastest growing segment of entrepreneurs for a reason.
Hmm. Love that. And this has been so amazing. And I know people are listening and they're going to want to know, how can they find you, support you, and connect with you? So please do share.
Yes, absolutely. Follow me on Instagram and all my social media handles, Mahisha_Dellinger.
Love it. Mahisha, thank you so much. This has been amazing. Thank you so much. It has been such a treat having a conversation with you. And thank you so much for pouring into my audience and doing the work that you do and being on the Black to Business podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Now, as we wrap up this incredible conversation with Mahisha, it's clear that her journey is a masterclass in entrepreneurial resilience and innovation. From pioneering the natural hair care market to building a multi-million-dollar brand, Mahisha's insights have been nothing short of amazing. Now, what stood out to me is Mahisha's no-nonsense approach to business. Either you have it or you don't, she says. And it's a mindset that has undoubtedly contributed to her success and one that any aspiring or current entrepreneur can take to heart. So before you go, let's recap the key takeaways from today's conversation. We learned about strategies for market disruption, the importance of brand consistency, and the practical tips for balancing entrepreneurship with employment. And Mahisha's journey served as a roadmap for those navigating the unpredictable currents of entrepreneurship. Check out the resources mentioned and how you can support and connect with Mahisha by visiting blacktobusiness.com/174. Thank you so much for listening and being a part of the Black to Business family. Please share this episode with a friend, and I can't wait to chat with you next week, same time, same place.